What's up, everybody? Welcome to 3D Rivals, your first line of defense against stupid movies. My name is DJ, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, my sister,
Danielle,
and my brother,
Derek.
Yeah, I usually say your name.
Yeah, you do usually say my name.
Yeah. But yes, and this week, guys, we are talking about the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is Thor, Love and Thunder. And, Thor, Love and Thunder. Well, what do I say? Where do I start?
This movie sucks. There you go.
Okay.
We summed it up right there.
Thor, Love and Thunder sucks. Okay, so we're going to change it up. We're going to talk about Marry Me with Jennifer Lopez and Owen. No, okay. But, yeah. All right. I feel like with this movie, and I guess we'll do a non-spoiler review, or spoiler.
This is full on spoilers. I feel like there's nothing even to talk about for non-spoiler.
Yeah, without like getting into the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to get into.
And
the
nothing
movie.
major even happened anyway. So
if you want to see Thor: Love and Thunder and you don't want to be spoiled, spoiler warning: we're going to talk about stuff that happens in the movie. Honestly, I don't think it matters. So you can stick around anyway, but know that we're going to talk about stuff that happens in the movie. Mm-hmm. This movie is, and like, I don't want to sound like the people who have criticized Marvel in the past, but this movie is too focused on comedy. So much so that it takes away from the serious story beats. Because the underlying story of the movie isn't bad.
No, it is not.
But it is executed horribly.
Yes.
Horribly.
yeah, well, I think one thing you're saying like the underlying story, but they didn't even focus on what the story was about. The story was about Gore, who suffered and decided to get his revenge, and it was about Jane, who was sick and became Thor. Those were the two main stories, and we got very little about it. It made no sense. This movie tonally was all over the place.
Yes.
I hated the tone in this movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I did too.
Hated the tone.
I did too.
From early on. I'm going to go out there and say the first act, the first scene, I hated the first act, but the first scene, not scene, but that first part with Thor in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I hated that.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
Like
horrible.
Okay. So Thor can be silly.
Yeah.
I think with Thor Ragnarok, we brought it to like he's a goofball, but that's fine, right? Mm-hmm. But this action scene with Thor just made him look dumb.
The whole movie made Thor look dumb and silly. And it's one thing to have jokes. It's another thing to make someone seem unintelligent. Yeah. And this movie just simply made him seem unintelligent.
I feel like it took away from his character because after the movie, I thought back of like Thor 1, Thor Dark World.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, Dark World. And it's like the Thor we got in Ragnarok and in this movie is not the same Thor in the first two movies.
Yeah, and in Ragnarok, that was on purpose.
Well, Ragnarok was fine. I was fine with adding that comedy element.
I get that,
because essentially it was like a little bit of his character growth, but the movie wasn't as serious. And so like the movie itself was sillier, but he wasn't a silly person.
Right.
And in this movie, he was just a silly person, all to like not having plans and being irrational and just... jumping to things, and then the whole thing, the opening scenes with the Guardian of the Galaxies really could have been something great and special, and they completely ruined it. I don't even know why you even wasted time paying the people from Guardians of the Galaxy to be in those trash scenes, because it wasn't worth it at all.
No.
Yeah, and like I said, it's fine with comedy. Like from the trailer where we saw part of this scene where Thor gets up there and he throws the cloak off and it hits the king alien or whatever in the face. Mm-hmm. At face value in the trailer, I'm like, that looks funny. It reminds me a little bit of Thor Ragnarok. You know, Thor's cocky or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's great. Yeah. But when I saw the scene executed, it was just stupid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think part of it is because I watch stupid movies sometimes, but I didn't go in here, and this is echoing someone else I saw do a review, but I didn't go in here expecting to watch Austin Powers.
Right.
right?
Right.
Good point.
I mean, that's true. Like, you
Good
watch
point.
silly movies, but you know it's silly going in. And that's
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, this should have been like, oh, this movie was also fun.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think what, some of the other MCU movies has done is, like, insert comedy at the right points.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it didn't do that at all.
Yeah, I actually, throughout the movie, it got to a point where I expected them to undercut a serious scene with some stupid joke. And they did. I'm
Throughout
jumping,
the whole movie.
Yeah. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Thor talking to Jane on the boat or whatever when they're heading to the Shadow Planet. Deep scene, actually, I think really good. It's character growth for both of these characters because Jane has to tell him that he has cancer. Thor has to come to grips with how he feels about Jane. And in the middle of that conversation, like, Korg starts singing a song over, like, the PA or something, and it was like,
For what? One, it wasn't funny, and why do we need it?
yeah.
Why do we need this? Was the scene we have been waiting for this entire time, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, for the last 8 years, right, he's been missing Jane, and now he's finally telling her, like, look, even if it doesn't work, this is what I want. And then she's
I'd
just
rather be in love with you and feel bad than not be in love with you and go with this empty feeling.
Yeah, and he got that line from Peter Quill
Yes.
in the beginning, and see, that's something which I think was good writing executed horribly because it's something that should have resonated. If the scene with Peter was taken more seriously in the beginning,
Yes.
then
that
scene would have landed better, besides the fact that they undercut it with stupid comedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was just so much of that in this movie. And I don't know, it just it took me way out of the movie.
It took it out, and then maybe it'd have been better, but I just feel like very few of the jokes to me landed well.
Yeah.
It was unfunny.
And I didn't like it because unlike in Ragnarok, I guess outside of Hela, the other villain is what is his name?
Oh, Sorley something?
Yeah.
The guy with the horns.
That was played by
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
The
the Grandmaster. But I'm like, all of that fit. That didn't feel out of place.
Well, it was like the Grandmaster can be silly.
Yes.
But everyone else wasn't. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
the thing. Like, so if Korg is your comedy relief, then everyone else can be their normal selves.
Yes.
Everyone in this movie didn't have to be a fool.
Yeah.
Right.
Also,
and the thing was, like, when it came to Gorg, like, Christian Bale did great. I felt like he was the only positive of the movie.
Yeah, there's a
And I felt like
they
they wasted that.
Oh, they wasted it big time.
Yeah, there's a huge downside to that too, because you have this serious villain, this intimidating villain, this sometimes scary villain, but everything surrounding him is Austin Powers silly.
Yeah.
Not funny things happen. It's silly.
Yep.
So it undercuts his character. You have this serious story beat with him.
Yeah.
And then just ridiculousness happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit. Like we talked about the tone doesn't fit the movie.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and I like his character because it was as close as possible as they had it. And it was just like, it could have ended up being a really, really good movie off of that premise, because it's like, okay, we worship this God. I'm praying to you to protect my daughter, or, let me die and let her live, and his prayers don't get answered. Their whole planet dies. He's the only one left, and they just like, oh, we ain't gotta answer your prayers or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's like him being angry and upset at the gods makes sense, and it's a serious tone. And it's like you took that good part and then just surrounded it with comedy.
Yeah, so to clarify everything, basically what was set up early on in Thor is a lot of the aliens from out there they're stronger than humans or any other races, they were worshipped as gods. And in this, Gore finally met the person that his race of people worship, and it just turned out, he was D-bag. He's like, I don't really care about y'all. You just do things for me and whatever. So what was interesting to me about that was it wasn't even 100% about his daughter dying, because after his daughter died, he was still he was still worshiping. It's when he got to talk to him and he said, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, I kind of wanted more in that scene, because one, I was like, well, how did he get to this spot? I don't know. Why was he chosen for the sword? How did he get it? I just feel like we needed more out of him. Like, everything about him outside of the initial scene was done off screen.
Yeah.
Which did a disservice to him and for the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed to go deeper into that. And just like with Jane Foster, you needed to go a bit deeper in it. They explained it, her using Thor's powers, it was killing her.
But what do you think, like, Jane needed? And I think Natalie Portman did a good job, but they failed her so badly in this movie. I feel like they could have expanded on her a little bit more. Like, honestly, I feel like it'd have been better off if the first time we see her, she's Thor. Mm-hmm. And then where there's the scene where she drops the hammer and then you see how sick she is. So that was the relevant, like, oh, she's still sick. I would have liked that had to been for the first time for us to know that she's sick.
That would have been good, yeah.
And then reveal it that way.
Especially since we already knew that she was going to be Thor in the movie.
Because you revealed it in the
trailers, that's not going to be a surprise.
Exactly.
I think that would have been a great idea.
Yeah, right.
Where like her and Valkyrie is fighting whatever small threat or whatever, and we don't know that the underlying thing is that she's dying of cancer.
Yeah. And then tell us that story with her, and then even then I feel like I needed more. Like, I would have liked for her to see her fighting a normal battle.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Gore fighting someone else, and
I thought they were going to show that.
Yeah, they didn't show him kill any of the other gods.
No, they only said it in passing. Like, I would have liked to have seen it. Like, show me why this guy is so powerful. Because even when we got to the scenes where Thor and them was fighting him, in none of those scenes that I ever feel like he was the most powerful person in that fight.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It never came out. I kept saying to myself, like, why can't you beat this guy?
Yeah.
Like, nothing about it made it seem like he was just so invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is the flip-floppy tone of the movie. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about overdone jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So not only we mentioned how the movie was a bit too silly, but with that, it wasn't even funny. And even some things that got like maybe a chuckle out of me got overdone. I'm going to start with Stormbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, but in none of the other films did we talk about Thor's weapons being sentient?
Right.
Because they're not.
Because, and they talk about Thor having an attachment to his hammer, but, that's like a person has an attachment to their car or whatever. The car doesn't get jealous of you if
driving
you get another
car. Right.
Well, I think him being attached to the hammer that, helps him wield his power makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I'll be attached to that too.
Yeah.
So this was weird because they did it where this first scene where he's like, like he wants Mjolnir and Stormbreaker comes around a corner and like turns to him like, like an angry girlfriend turning to him or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, haha, chuckle or whatever. But then they do it throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Stormbreaker's unstable because it's jealous of Mjolnir being back.
Yeah, so now they can't, like, go across the Bifrost correctly because
that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Pouring beer on it, I thought that was dumb and over the top.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what is...
I did chuckle when he was, like, trying to summon Mjolnir and he got Stormbreaker. Like, Stormbreaker came. Like, I chuckled at that, but, like, the whole... It being sentient. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I was like, yeah, that's dumb.
They did it, like, 4
over
or 5
the top
times. Like it just they kept doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we get what you're getting at here. It's like it's an ex-girlfriend or ex-girlfriend and current girlfriend. Haha.
Right.
But it's not funny anymore. And it was barely funny the first time you did it.
Yeah, but then to base a story off of it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we can't power the magical ship without this thing, but it's acting up. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that don't make no sense.
Yeah. Like, this is...
Because honestly, the ship would not be needed. They could have just summoned the Bifrost and go directly there.
Which Thor did in Infinity War.
Yes.
And in this movie, he did, to get back to Earth and to get to the planet that Sif was on. I forgot about that scene. That angers me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he controlled the Bifrost.
Yeah, because when they got injured, when she got injured in the fight, yeah, they made it back to Earth with no problem. But they had that long space boat ride to get there.
There was a reason for the boat ride. I don't remember what it was.
They had to... They needed something to channel Stormbreaker's power because it was unstable.
Yeah, because it was unstable.
Oh, that's the only reason why they didn't take Stormbreaker there?
Yeah. I mean, why they used
that's
the
why
boat
they used the boat
instead
to
of
get
just
there.
riding the Bifrost.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's dumb.
Right. Because they went back to Earth with no issue.
Was that maybe, I don't know. I don't remember, like, I was like, oh, maybe, they couldn't directly teleport there or something.
I mean, that would have made more
sense.
Like, I'm not saying get rid of the boat, but you could be like this shadow planet or whatever. Yeah. You can't just Bifrost to.
Right.
So we
undisclosed, unnecessary reason on why not you can't get there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But it being unstable because it's jealous of his other weapon. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talk about traveling places. They made that big old deal. And in the climax of the movie, we're at the center of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Thor gets there without Stormbreaker.
Yo,
no Bifrost. And Jane she only has Mjolnir.
Yeah.
How did she get there?
Yep.
Okay, yes, I was going to bring that because that didn't make no sense. Because one of the things is that you couldn't let Gore, or whatever his name is, get Stormbreaker. Because Stormbreaker was the only thing that could unlock the Infinity Room or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So of course, when their attempt to get back to Asgard, they let him get it, which was dumb. And then I was like, that was dumb because in the very next scene, he uses the lightning bolt to get there, and then like you said, Jane got there without it. So then they didn't have to use Stormbreaker to leave the Shadow Place, which means that Gore should have never had the weapon.
Yeah. And this what upset me about the scene before. When Jane realized that he was going to use Stormbreaker, she threw it away. If Stormbreaker is now sentient, why would he come when he summoned it when it's just like, we don't need to use you? It would have stayed away.
Because it's not supposed to be sentient.
Right. Now, but that's the whole point. So I'm like, why is it acting one way on one scene and not in another way in another scene?
Yeah. I was going to be upset about the way that Thor can give people the power of Thor.
Where did that come from? Is that a comic book thing?
And
I think he gets that ability because Odin is dead. Because Odin can do that.
I did realize that. We talked about it before in a podcast. Yeah. When Odin died, they say Odin has the Odin Force.
Yeah.
It's his power. When Odin died,
it goes to
Thor. That's why Thor had such a power up at the end of Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because basically Odin told him, like, hey, the
hammer's not your power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Thor does have that power. That's how he could tell Mjolnir to protect Jane.
Right. That's all I was going to say. That was going to be my next thing.
But I did not like him giving the power of Thor to people. This feels weird because then it's like, well, if you're fighting with the Avengers, why not just give them all the power of Thor?
Right. Why do you always do that? Yeah. I would agree. I don't. They're just.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like for reasons. Because I mean, in the comic book, yeah, of course he would do that every time if you think about it. But it's just like it's only going to be used for whatever plot needs to be completed.
Yeah. They should have left it at him giving Mjolnir to Jane, basically, even if accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I felt like him giving it to the kids was...
It was unnecessary, and it was
Thank you.
unnecessary because the shadow people were easy to beat. So
they weren't easy to beat the whole time.
No, they weren't easy to beat.
I mean,
they were, for the whole movie.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Since you were easily beating them the entire
Yeah.
movie, you did not need to give these kids the power.
No, and it just made a dumb scene.
Just
It
dumb.
did.
Well, all of the fight scenes. One, I felt like they did this so many times. Like it first happened in Ragnarok, right, where he jumps and it's like slow motion in the air, and then he uses his hammer or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool the first time you did it, but I mean, you did it like 30 times in this movie. It's not cool. It's just stop. Find another trick.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that scene, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but this movie has a lot of bad stuff in it. But since you mentioned that scene in Ragnarok, you know how, like, when you're watching Ragnarok, and he strikes Hela with the lightning, and he jumps up, and then you get the song coming in, right? Mm-hmm. It's hype. It's like, yo, that's like Thor's powered up. It's dope. Yeah, them using the rock music in this did not work as well as it did in Ragnarok. I don't know if they're choosing the wrong songs, or maybe it's just because you have a stupid, dumb, silly movie going on. But
I felt like the music didn't fit either.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think it was the wrong songs. I felt like it was the wrong scenes. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like those songs in another scene and maybe another movie, like, in general, I like the music choices. I just don't think they used them well.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, you're like, this worked in Ragnarok, and you're just throwing them in everywhere, but it didn't pan out. It didn't work. Like you said, it didn't work with the scenes. It just...
I only liked the fight scenes with Jane. I felt like I felt like all the other ones was like over the top.
None of them were good. Like, they didn't have choreographers or something. I felt like all of them could have been better.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had that, and then before I got on the music, I'm sorry, we were talking about something else, and I forgot.
Thor giving the power to his children. I mean, to the children.
To the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not necessary. Just I don't know. It wasn't good. Like, I went in like, man, this movie's not going to be good, and this movie was like 100 times worse than I thought it was going to be.
Definitely worse than I thought it was going to be. In the beginning of the movie, it seemed, one thing I hate about the first act, it was as if everyone was Taika Waititi. Like, the humor that everybody had, it was just like same humor you see him do in all his movies that he acts in general.
Mm-hmm.
But
I felt
every
that way.
actor was it. And you could tell because the acting felt bad. Not that Taika Waititi is a bad actor, but you have these actors trying to do Taika Waititi humor, obviously because he's directing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels bad. That the Guardians in Thor, I felt was really bad acting. And these are good actors.
None of them felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, this movie should have opened with them on the ship listening to 70s and 80s music. Yeah. Like, it really, we should have had a scene in there that felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I had him have Star-Lord and Thor arguing, like jokingly arguing.
Yeah.
Right, but but you're right. It felt like these people in here was like forced to be something that they're not.
Yeah. I feel like, along with what you said, Danielle, when it came to those scenes, just let Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt do what they normally do. I think, as comedic actors when it comes to that.
I think of the scene in Thor Ragnarok where he's talking about the past times Loki betrayed him, and he talks about how he turned into a snake and stuff. I feel like that was ad-libbed by Chris Hemsworth. And it was funny the way it was delivered. It worked. It still felt like it was Thor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And in this, I don't know. It didn't feel like it was Thor.
Yeah. You notice, like, when we think about, like, when it comes to other movies, when it comes to, like, really, really funny scenes where we're, like, you know, laughing so hard where we crying, or scenes where it's, like, a serious scene and you're just like, wow, he really did that. And then it's like you read up on it and it's just like, oh, yeah, that was ad-lib.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's like, I felt like just let the actors be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I
even
think
if it's only for a few moments, like a few minutes. It don't have to be the whole scene, but give them a little bit of leeway. Because as DJ brought out, it's like everybody felt like they were acting like the director. Like no one felt themselves. Like it didn't feel like it was themselves.
I think a good way to put it is, since you mentioned that, is the comedy in this feels written rather than naturally flowing. And obviously you have to write some of the comedy.
You got to write something. But yeah,
you know, it feels like this is, you were writing a script and you're like, I'm going to put this joke in.
Right.
That's what
it's
I'm
like
put this joke
no
in.
one had any chemistry. Like they weren't feeding off of each other. And in here, you talking about a movie with Valkyrie, Jane, and Thor. There should be like, you know, 3 friends going out to fight to save the world. And they really felt like roommates who are on different schedules. And it just, there was no, they didn't really mesh well together. And I think it brings out the Derek was said, like, if you let that natural comedy flow, then you get that. Like, I feel like Ragnarok was like that natural. Like, when Thor and Loki are bickering with each other. When Thor and, you know, the Hawk are talking to each other. It was kind of like that natural give and take. And in this movie, we didn't have that. And I think that was a real flaw. Like, you wrote this movie to be a comedy instead of just making a Thor movie. Right.
You should have wrote the scripts and then, you know, allow jokes to naturally go in. But I feel like Taika Waititi wanted to do a comedy. He wanted to do a straight up comedy.
This is not the movie for that.
It's not. Yeah, I was like,
not with the villain they had.
And I'm not saying that you don't give Taika Waititi a movie to direct. I'm saying you don't give him Gore the God Butcher to direct. Because that movie is a serious movie.
I feel like, honestly, with the villain that they had, that could have been a 2-parter kind of movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
It kind of could have been an Avenger movie.
Anyway.
Yeah.
He could be like a Avenger movie type villain.
But then you know what? Also, what I'm thinking, every movie doesn't have to be world ending.
No.
Right.
Where's our normal villains?
Well, technically, this wasn't world ending. It was just, you know.
It could have been.
It could have been.
He could have wished to kill all the gods.
Yeah.
And it would have been a
wrap. He could have wished for anything, which is kind of stupid on Thor's like, oh, yeah, go ahead, make your wish. I know you're going to make the right decision. Are you sure, though? Because he could have just wished for you to disappear.
That's always the superhero thing, though.
Yeah.
Make the right choice, and
yes.
I know you will.
I know you're deep down, you're a good person.
Okay.
Batman can't do that with Joker because then everybody's dead.
Yeah, they needed to beat him before he got to eternity.
Yes.
And it was just such a failure, too. Like, it was just such a big failure for no reason whatsoever.
I honestly, I'm going with, for me, he could have been like an Avenger movie type villain. Like how Loki was on the first Avengers. Yeah. He could have been that type of villain.
I get it. I think in the comics, it's pretty much just a Thor story, though. So that's probably
why.
But I just
Loki
feel like
is too.
But with this villain, if he was done correctly, it would have been, since Thor will return, give me 2 parts of this.
Yeah. Well, like we were mentioning before, you needed Jane's story. Technically, can be its own movie, and so can the entirety of Gore's story.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could split this movie. Get rid of the dump stuff. Actually, Thor in the Asgardian or the Guardians of the Galaxy could be its own movie as well.
That could have been not even just a own movie. Give me 30, 40 minutes of that. All right, you hyped it up at the end of the Endgame, and I know it was different directors.
Definitely different directors.
But at the end of Endgame, I'm like,
yeah,
I would like to see that movie.
Right.
But then in this movie, it was a completely different tone. And it was just, and I think
and how they did it, So we know Thor is not in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, yeah,
I mean, we kind of knew that already, but it's like that was only maybe 10 minutes of this movie of them even being together. So we don't even get a chemistry of Thor with the rest of the Guardians of the
with them, fighting with them and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like Endgame didn't even need to end that way. Honestly,
I guess I'm going back to the tone of it, but like, this doesn't feel like a Thor that lost everybody, right? Like,
because it was too silly.
He's doing a little bit better after Endgame because they were able to defeat Thanos and save people. But guess what? Everybody for Thor is still dead. Yeah. His mom, his dad, Loki, Heimdall, they're all still dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is like Korg was saying that he was moody, but then his actions didn't really say that he was moody. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. One thing we did not need, the narration by Korg. Actually, you know what?
I hated that so much. Yeah.
We didn't need Korg. I'm sorry. He was funny in Ragnarok, not here. We didn't need him at all.
I agree.
Right.
Well, he served no purpose.
The reason why we didn't need him is because Korg was part of the comedic relief in Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
But when you have a movie where everyone is dumb silly, then what purpose does Korg serve?
He doesn't serve a purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they would have went with a serious tone, then he would have fit, because then he would have been basically like how Drax is in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like they try to have a serious moment and then he comes in and they like,
how long have you been standing there?
Yeah. I am invisible if I stand completely still.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of the CGI.
Oh, the movie was so bad, I didn't even pay attention to the CGI.
Was overused. Like, I get that you can Marvel, but sometimes you don't need to. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's overused. Especially with the dumb tone that they have in this movie. Let's talk about floating head Axel or whatever, which again, I don't know what's with the Guns N' Roses thing going on in this movie, but they just
I have no idea. When I'm like, is there a child out there that will be a Guns N' Roses fan?
Yes.
Really? Yeah. Do they still make current music?
I don't know. Honestly.
I don't know.
I just feel like to me, Axel seemed too young. A lot of
kids are still fans of older music. Yeah,
because of the parents.
Or they find it. Now everything's online. That's not possible.
I just felt like he was too young to me.
But, like, okay, you had a whole scene with them arguing about his name not being Axel, which was not needed.
Not needed and not funny.
And not funny. Also, why was he a floating head? Did Heimdall ever appear in the three Thor movies plus
where he had to
Avengers
be a floating
movies,
head?
Where he showed up to them as a floating head?
No, they showed his whole body.
Which effects are never good, and it looked bad.
No, because he always ends up in the room with the people, which he end up in the room with the kids. So why was Axel?
Why it couldn't have been vice versa?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's using Heimdall's powers, so yeah. Vice versa, he could have fully been shown to Thor.
But they did it for comedy, quote unquote, and it wasn't funny.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that you had him. I would have been okay with him developing. He's Heimdall's son.
Yeah.
He starts developing powers under a stressful situation.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I didn't have a problem with any of the kids. Except for when we brought up about giving them the powers,
because they were fine.
Yeah.
Even the scenes with them and Gore, I think, was fine because again, you had Thor come off as intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. But yeah, the CGI, the floating head was not necessary.
Are we gonna talk about old memes like screaming goats?
I was just like, okay.
Annoying.
Yes, I was like, please.
It was not funny from the very beginning.
And then they just kept at it.
Yes.
Like, okay, you do the joke that, like, that's his gift because he destroyed the one alien's people's temple.
Right, and they're getting rid of something they don't want.
But it just kept going and going and going.
It was never funny.
It wasn't. No, one time it was funny when they crashed into the planet.
When they crashed into the planet, it was.
Oh yeah, that was
that was funny.
That was funny because I wasn't expecting that. That was funny.
that was legitimately funny.
That was legitimately funny.
But you see, if you did it where he got the goats in the beginning, we noticed that they're screaming and annoying.
Yeah.
And you don't do it again until they crash into the planet.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Good.
Then I'd be in tears.
But, like, come on. Like, you think people want to... It was screaming over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just annoying. I'm sitting there like, please stop.
Yeah. Well, there's like, okay, let's say we did that for the podcast today. So in the beginning, we have the screaming goats.
Yeah.
But then every 5 minutes,
Is a goat in the background.
is a goat in the background screaming. After a while, our people listening is going to say, like, okay, we get it. You can stop now.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But I'm like, in the beginning, I didn't think it was funny.
No, not like, okay, we talked about them crashing to the planet. That I laughed at.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I didn't, but I could go, okay, you know, that's his gift. But again, I'm talking about them going, oh, here's your gift, and we hear the girl scream once, not then we take it onto the ship and they're screaming and screaming and screaming.
Then you're on
and then
Asgard.
we go through the Bifrost and they're screaming, and then we go to Asgard and they're screaming. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So horribly executed jokes, just a too silly movie. I didn't like it.
Did we talk about the scene with Zeus?
Oh, okay.
I felt like those jokes were over the top.
It was unfunny and too long.
Too long.
Very.
Yeah. The jokes part of it, you could have gotten to the point. Because, again, there's a serious subject matter going on here.
Yeah. I mean, I did laugh at the part where he said, and the prize is going to go to the guy who had the most human sacrifices.
And they're like, oh, this is not good. Yeah.
I did think that was funny. But
yeah, no. It wasn't.
yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. You needed the scene for Thor to realize that, all of these so-called gods are just a bunch of D-bags.
Yeah.
Because that's what Zeus proved.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you, like, the mythology of Zeus, he definitely is.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And that's what you needed the scene for, because Thor comes to realize that, and that's why Gore is mad.
Yeah. Right. So it's just like he can relate to Gore, understanding, like, okay, I see why he's so angry, because we're supposed to be these so-called beings to be protectors of those that are weaker than us,
Right.
and we choose not to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at it, before Thor, Odin was too, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thor is only like this because Odin decided to change by that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were all the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all had the same thing. Like, hey, we're super powerful. Like, we're doing you a favor by protecting you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I felt like Zeus should have been more serious as well.
Well, like we said, like, everyone in this movie didn't have to be a comedian.
Yeah.
And like we said, I don't mind some joke. Like, obviously, I would expect some jokes in that scene when it comes up. But the whole scene is silly.
Yeah.
So nothing in the movie is taken serious but Gore and Jane's cancer.
Yeah.
But it's underwritten by the stupidity going around it. I feel like I'm repeating myself now. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because even with him, and I say in quotes, killing Zeus, like, I didn't feel no type of way about it, because I'm like, the whole scene was, unnecessarily silly and over the top.
Right
so
before
it's just
that,
like,
we've got Korg supposedly dying, and he's going, Thor, I'm perishing. No. No, I get you're calling back to him calling himself Perishable Rock.
mm-hmm.
But if you want a scene that makes Thor angry enough to kill Zeus,
Yes.
then you don't play the person's death like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually kill him.
Or
Yeah.
actually kill him.
Yeah, because I thought that as well.
Yeah, actually kill him.
Yeah.
And then my thing is what I hate about this is that, okay, if he had the ability to kill this guy, why couldn't he kill the other guy?
Yeah.
What you talking about, Gord?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't need the lightning.
I just feel like
felt that way too.
to me,
Because I was like, if he can kill Zeus, and Zeus is supposed to be the all-powerful, then I was just like, then everybody else is obsolete.
well, I just felt like in all the scenes with him and Gore, it was like they were purposely holding him back.
Yeah.
Because it to me just seems like Thor should win this fight hands down.
Mm-hmm.
So either make Gore more powerful or show him as being more powerful, or because I just felt like they were like hindering Thor. Like I'm like, use your lightning powers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. He didn't really. And
No, he
but
really didn't.
that's what happens when you really don't show the villain doing anything,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You
Because I would have had a fight scene with Gorg and Zeus. With Zeus
I think
losing
he
to
in the
him.
comics. I think he did fight Zeus. I'm pretty sure.
With Zeus losing. Like,
No,
maybe not
with-
Zeus dying.
With Zeus winning.
I would say with Zeus winning.
With Zeus winning. So he goes at all the other ones.
Yeah. Because remember, they're like, oh, he killed some lower level people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because his character in the comic book is every god he kills, the stronger he gets.
Yeah.
Oh, so we didn't even see that at all.
So it's just like, it doesn't matter if he kills lower,
Right.
lesser gods. It's
Actually,
just
you should start there.
right. He gets stronger. So
But I'm like, wouldn't it make sense if he
Yeah.
started at the top, couldn't win,
mm-hmm. Good
and then was
idea.
like, okay, I'll get these bottom
Yeah,
feeders.
good idea. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Then you can have Zeus being as cocky as he was,
Because he's
take
not a
out
threat.
the comic relief. Then he was just like, oh yeah, I already faced this dude. He has nothing coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thor could have been like, no, he's coming back to kill you.
Mm-hmm. More powerful.
More
than he
powerful
was.
than he was before. You have to take this threat seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, are we moving to nitpicks?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I have one semi nitpick besides the entire movie.
Okay. Pick some nits.
Pick some nits.
Why was it so easy for the Hammer to go back together? And why did it only go back together for Jane? Like, if the whatever it's called,
Mjolnir.
could just be forged back together, why didn't it?
That's.
That's a very interesting
Did he
point.
ever go? Well, yeah, he was back on Earth.
Yeah. And he had the hammer at the end. And it was together. Because he
I don't
gave
know.
the girl Stormbreaker.
It could have been like you could have done it where instead of it just reforming itself, that like since she gets called to it and she was able to pick up a piece of it, right? And then since they found like, oh wow, she can pick it up, then they actually try to reforge it. But it needs to go back to
The way it was before.
Nidavellir, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
In order
yeah.
to be reforged.
Well, I didn't like that it could be solid and then break
apart and come back together again?
Yeah, I didn't like that part.
Like-
I
thought it
would
was
have been
cool for fighting.
Yeah, but where did that come from?
yeah. I thought
Or
I
because
would have
it's
been
not really back
okay
together.
with it since she's wielding it. It brought it back together,
Okay, but then
and
you're
I would have been
saying-
fine with that.
Then
That-
Thor could have done it.
Exactly. You're saying
Yeah.
that by her being worthy, the Hammer came back together. Thor, clearly, they showed in this movie, he was still worthy. So
Yeah.
why didn't the Hammer come back together when he needed it?
Because it was on Earth and he wasn't on Earth no more.
He was on
He-
Earth
he
at
was
the end
on
of
Earth.
Endgame.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is a major nitpick.
Did he not try because he had the old Mjolnir? But like before he left with the Guardians of the Galaxies, didn't they leave from New Asgard?
But
yeah,
didn't Hela break it on Earth?
yeah.
It
So-
was
That's
in
why
the
it's
same
there.
spot because people can't lift the pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing is, she breaks it. He's like, oh no, my hammer. I don't know. I tried to glue that thing back together first.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, like
Because if Jane was able to do it, he would have been able to do it too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a plot hole.
yeah. And it was in the same spot.
You could have had
Because
someone
you-
forge it for her because they found out she could pick a piece of it up. I mean,
Yeah, like the sword and the stone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everyone tries
Hey,
to pick up a
it
piece.
could be random.
Think about it. It's already a
You
tour.
could have had what's the old science guy that works with her? he could have figured out a way, something.
No, but think about it, right? Everyone tours this place, right? It could have been like the Sword and the Stone. Everyone tries to pick up a piece. She does it and can do it, right?
Yeah.
That alerts all the Asgardians like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We need to get people on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Since it seems like they automatically accepted her as Thor, even though we needed that story and we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, because of them being Asgardians, is that if someone is able to wield it, then they're worthy.
Exactly, but what I'm saying, show me.
Oh.
Right? You got Tessa Thompson like, oh yeah, you're going to like this new guy.
Right.
Like, show me.
Right, because everybody knew who she was before then. Yeah, I felt like when that scene happened, I was like, was this the next day? Was this weeks that went by?
They played that wrong too because they wanted the jokey Jane from Thor in that. They played that wrong. The reveal to Thor was all wrong.
It didn't even feel right.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so that was
Very good nitpick.
That was my nitpick.
That's a whole.
I agree. I've nitpicked this entire movie. No, I didn't because it was worthy complaints.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had some of the stuff under nitpicks, which I think they were all valid. It's not a nitpick. This is valid issues with this movie.
Yeah. Okay, I do have a nitpick. I am fine with Jane being a good superhero, but bad at the public part of being a superhero. Like, oh, I'm gonna come up with a catchphrase. I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
Your final scene with her fighting Gore. And she's like, my name is the Mighty Thor. Mm-hmm. Then it gets undercut by Eat My Hammer.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, can we take anything serious in this movie? Like, there's nothing in this movie that is taken seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't need to watch this.
Well, it's kind of like that scene should have had the same impact of Captain America picking up the hammer in Endgame. Right? Mm-hmm. When she comes, like, she's coming to save him.
Right.
But when she comes, it should have had that same kind of impact. Mm-hmm. And then you undercut it with stupidity.
Mm-hmm. Right, like, don't even show her, like, getting up out of the hospital. Like, just show her
right? He's struggling, right? Yeah. The dude's getting ready to get stabbed.
Yeah, like Thanos. And then all of a sudden the hammer comes and hit him.
Exactly.
And he turn around, like... And then it's just Captain America and he catch it. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it don't have to be, like, exactly played like that. But, yeah.
Yeah, I guess my other nitpick at that scene is the kids. Like you mentioned before, we didn't need them fighting.
No.
In that scene. You could have just had them go. Why would you do that in it? I think that's bad superheroing. That's not a protagonist. I do not send children. These are young children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do not give them my power and like, hey, fight these shadow monsters. It's like, yeah, no, you guys go. Here's Stormbreaker. Get going.
Yeah.
Just
didn't need it. It was dumb. Those kids could have died.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't need their help.
Yeah. And then like out of all the scenes to be funny, like the last scene where she was like, I finally came up with one, and she whispered in his ear, and he said, oh, that's funny, but we don't know what it is. That would have been the time for us to know what that was.
Right. That would have been a time to come up with a good one. But I think the problem is that
there wasn't
a good one. He didn't know a good catchphrase.
Right.
Because you only have a good catchphrase when it's dead serious, like Captain America, and I can do this all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when it's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay. And so that's our nitpicks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole movie is a big nitpick, but yes.
Are there movie facts?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, what movie facts would there be?
It's hard on new movies.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I was cracking up with the scenes with Matt Damon and I thought
but that play went on too long though.
It did go on too long.
The play went on too long.
It did go on too long.
Because it didn't go on that long in Ragnarok, and then they played it out. It was funny when they're like, so can we have the rights to do a play of this?
Right, and I thought that was perfect, right?
Yeah, that was very perfect.
A way to call back to, it's like, oh, hey, here's this guy, like the regular guy, like, so we're doing a play of this, right?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't say no.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah. But see, that was properly placed comedy,
because
though.
you wasn't expecting it.
Yes.
Right? Then the play people come back and say, so we about to make this a movie, right? Like,
right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
Oh, we didn't make mention of the cutscenes.
Who cares?
I forgot. Yeah,
Neither
I
one
did
of
want to
them are
mention
special.
this. I did want to mention this.
Oh, okay.
Because we get flashbacks in the movie. But we didn't need it. We didn't need a silly flashback of Thor and Jane's relationship. It actually did not add to the movie. The only important part was Thor telling Mjolnir to protect Jane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, that entire thing, again, narrated by Thor.
Well, I was saying, like, I threw that whole thing under the chorus narration. Like, I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it was... No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were going to do, like, it being narrated, it should have been narrated by Thor.
Well, my thing is, here's
Or
when
Jane.
narrations are good. When the dude from Ant-Man does it. Besides that, I don't need your storytelling.
Because it's played like
And
Dark
it's
History.
only, like, done in the movie twice.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
don't
not,
keep
it's
doing
not,
it.
okay, act 2. And then it's
Right.
like, yeah, so I talked to this guy. And then this guy said,
Right.
yo.
And then, you're right, like, they replayed Thor's and Jane's relationship. So, my thing is, we didn't need it because even though we didn't see it, we already know what happens. Like, their relationship played off screen, which in this case was completely fine because we know how it progressed and we know how it ended. We didn't need to visually see this stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't important.
Yeah. Because it wasn't going to work out because things kept on happening where Thor had to go away. And then she also has a life as a well-known scientist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, that was something that could have been done off screen and would have been fine.
It was done off
It was
screen
done
in the
off screen.
first 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't need the
didn't
flashback.
need
The breakup was done off screen. In Ragnarok, it was a line, oh, sorry, you got dumped.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh. But since we didn't care about their relationship, it didn't matter.
I think problem number one is we didn't care about this relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we rate it.
Mm-hmm.
Pure torture.
Yep.
I was on the low end of watch while folding clothes.
All right. Well, it gets a pure torture because it's 2-1. That is pure torture from 3D Rivals. It's bad. I'm surprised that some of the reviewers that I've watched have given other movies like bad reviews, and I'm like, oh, I mean, it wasn't that bad. But I'm surprised. They were like, oh, no, I'm kind of middle of the road on this. And I'm like, no, this is bad. I expected you to tear this movie a new one.
It's bad.
The two people I follow that do movie reviews said that it was bad.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's at 68% for critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Audience is at 80, but audience is just always wrong.
I always feel like it's high the first weekend.
Is
though.
audience at 80? When I saw it, it was 71.
It was at 80 when I checked earlier today.
Okay.
I guess. But I'm like, here's the problem here. If anybody that liked Thor Ragnarok is not gonna like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, Thor Ragnarok was funnier, but what made the movie good wasn't that it was silly. I feel like they just turned
They
that
missed the
up to-
point. They missed the point of that.
They
They
missed
took
the
the
point.
silliness, but not the actual storytelling and character growth.
Man, when Phase 4 is done and we do the ranking of movies,
Can we just mark them all? As
I feel
last?
like Phase 4. I thought Phase 2 was dwelling at the bottom.
You can't because it's got Winter Soldier in it.
Right. Yeah. And compared to like
this has
the
no way
and
home.
compared to the movies that been out in Phase 4, I have Age of Ultron over a lot of these movies in Phase 4.
I would watch Age of Ultron before this.
Yeah, honestly, outside of 2 movies in this, Phase 4 is absolutely the worst phase of all
I was
of
going to
this.
say this. I was going to do this section. Marvel, we need to talk.
Yeah. Well, me and Danielle was talking about this. We were saying we don't understand the direction that they're going with this next thing. Because I'm like, is it Secret Invasion? Is it the multiverse.
I think it's
Is
multiverse.
it?
It's definitely multiverse is where they're going with it. So it's leading to Kang, which is in Ant-Man, which Ant-Man feels like a weird movie to kind of climax on. So I don't know if it is going to do that.
Ant-Man probably gonna be better than
I
movies.
think the same director. I'm going to say probably because he's done it twice already. So
Yeah.
I don't
Hopefully.
expect him to do a Taika Waititi here.
Ant-Man is gonna be better than all these movies.
I mean, what's the next movie? Black Panther.
Yeah.
Once again, Black Panther has to be good, but now for a completely different reason than the first time.
Yeah, but I feel like it is going to be because it's totally different directors and everything. So
Oh, you got Ryan Coogler there. I don't see him doing.
November 11th.
Yeah. I don't see him doing
Yeah, no.
a bad job with
No,
it.
I don't either. But we just had so many bad movies.
It's so many. It's so many.
Well,
Not even like how you guys be like, oh, it wasn't that bad, but like these movies are bad.
when Black
Yes.
Widow came out, I was like, I didn't like the movie that we got, but it's not a bad movie.
I felt like Black Widow was okay.
Like,
I was
could
just
watch
disappointed.
If someone had it on, I would watch it.
I can watch it. I was just disappointed because I was expecting a certain thing. Like I was expecting Captain American-esque when it came like Winter Soldier, Civil War. Like that's what I was expecting, and we didn't get that. But I don't feel like it was bad.
No, it was actually funny.
That's
in a
true.
good
Black
way.
Widow's main problem is that it's not the movie we wanted. That and you completely screwed up Taskmaster for
Shouldn't have done
for
that.
whatever reason.
I feel like superhero. This is my thing with all superhero movies, outside of how they did Thanos. They do a horrible job with villains.
Yeah.
They do a horrible because let's say
Well, we had a few
even
good
I say it
ones.
like even with Batman, Joker,
This Batman or just Batman in general?
just Batman in general,
I thought
Joker,
the villain in
Bane.
this Batman was good. I mean, this Batman's kind of boring on a second watch, but
I gotta tell you that.
combine all the Batmans together, Joker, Bane.
Catwoman.
yeah, Catwoman was
I
good.
give you Catwoman.
I think
Catwoman?
Catwoman was good in this last one.
Yeah, she was. I give you
Okay.
Catwoman.
All right. So we're not counting Batman Forever. Definitely not Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
No, Ra's al Ghul was good.
Ra's al Ghul was good.
And Scarecrow.
Scarecrow was good.
Scarecrow was good.
But honestly, the movie could have been done without Scarecrow.
Sure could have.
Yeah.
But I thought they did it well.
Yeah,
It was weird that he kept showing up in all the other movies.
that was not needed. Maybe that's what I was thinking of with like Scarecrow. Like outside of the first movie, there was no need for him.
No, the villain problem lied within Marvel,
It lies within Marvel.
and
Yeah,
I
all the
thought they
Iron
had-
Man movies.
I like the bald head guy.
Obadiah.
Yeah.
The movie executed well, but as a villain,
Yeah.
he's kind of one note.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I'm just saying like how the
No,
villains
I know
are
what
executed.
You're saying, but maybe you're right. And maybe I enjoyed the movie more
I
than
thought
you.
Marvel had started doing better when you got Black Panther
Mm-hmm.
and Thanos in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ant-Man villains wasn't bad.
Ant-Man's villain.
The first one.
Yellow Jacket was kind of one.
Oh,
No, they're bad.
Yeah,
They're
they're
really
bad.
bad.
They're
Ghost
They're
really
bad.
Yellow
Never
Jacket,
mind.
yeah,
Never
they're
mind.
bad.
Oh wow,
They're really
why
bad.
did I say that?
You know what? I
Can I
think
get
Marvel's
10 bucks?
problem with their villains is that they change them for the movies,
Yeah.
and they don't need to change them for the movies.
Right.
I think. If
And I feel like that's why
Well, no.
Gorg was so good. There was no change with him. Like it was very little change. The only thing they changed was he got more powerful as he killed gods, and it was his wife and
But
children
we
that
can't call
died.
him a good villain because they didn't even.
yeah, he's not a good villain because we know nothing about.
Okay,
this villain.
he was acted
He
well.
should have been a good
The
villain.
actor was good.
Well, way to waste Christian Bale there.
Yes.
Yes.
I had American Psycho vibes.
I think the Mandarin, Wen Wu, that was a good villain.
Yes.
Actually, I thought that was an excellent villain.
Yeah.
Very well rounded. The problem is you need well rounded villains.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, Phase 4.
Yeah. I
You-
feel
you
like they
have
focus
Shang-Chi
more on
and
you trying to
Spider-Man.
love the hero than care for the villain.
Well, that worked for them. But you also actually built up heroes. At this point in Thor, you don't really need that because we already know Thor.
Yeah, we already
You
know
need
Thor.
to do more compelling stories as he goes forward. Look, the Captain America series is perfect for this. You start developing the world around him because Captain America does not change.
Right.
So the world around him starts changing. And that's what we needed with Thor. Thor, like we said, where he was left off with from Endgame, we should have got more character growth from that. But he just reverted back to Ragnarok Thor, but worse.
Yeah.
Which made zero sense.
Yeah. Because, like, how he was, especially, like, in Endgame, like, he was moody. He didn't care, nothing. He's just like, where's Thanos? I'm ready to kill him. I know what I need to do now. I made a mistake. Like, that's how it was. And then it was just like, after that, it's just like, okay, ha, ha, ha. And, but it's just like, he still lost everything else. And it was like, it was hard to feel for it. Because, like, even where it was like with the dialogue with Star-Lord, it's just like, yeah, dude, you're closed off, and it's like, you got to open up or whatever. But it's just like, is he really?
Yeah. Well, anyway, but like with Marvel, there's some missteps. The movies, I don't know where, like we said, the direction of the movies, I don't know what's going on. Black Widow, I can excuse, is an okay movie. It falls in line with like Iron Man 3, whatever, It's an all right. If I do a rewatch of Marvel, I could throw it in there.
Let's say this: Black Widow movie was a part where the comedy fit.
Yeah,
it did.
Like it was legitimately funny.
Yes,
in a good way. It was funny, but at no point did it ever take away from the movie
because
or from the characters.
Right. You know what? Because Red Guardian was the silly character.
Yes.
Right.
No one else was. Everyone else
and the
was serious.
sister was only silly when it came to.
But she was silly in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's like you can be funny.
She was still intimidating.
Exactly.
When you put her in Hawkeye and you had that scene of her being funny, quote unquote, with
the girl.
I forget her name.
Kate
Bishop.
Yeah.
That scene with her eating mac and cheese.
Yes.
That was legitimately intimidating.
It was still intimidating.
Yeah. I'm like, even
because
though
I was
she's
like,
being silly, I'm like,
to hurt her,
right? Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, she was funny, but in a different way. She stayed true to her character. Like, I'm still an assassin. I can still kill you at any moment if I want to with this fork.
Yeah.
So it was just like that. But the thing is, in this movie, everyone was the same type of silly.
Yeah.
And none of them was their own character with their type of comedy. And that's where this movie just...
I put this line, as we go down the line of Phase 4, I put this on the lines of Eternals. Eternals was boring. So they're both bad movies, but in different ways. Eternals was just god-awful boring and didn't serve a purpose. This just... as far as being a bad movie, I feel like it's along the same lines. I think I rated Eternals lower.
Yes.
But
No, I agree. Purpose. It serves no purpose. And then this movie, which was not as long as Eternals, but as we got to the end, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even care how it ended. And even then, I had no feels at the end, because at the end, the guy ends up wishing for his daughter to come back, basically with the agreement that Thor will look out for her. But even then, I'm like, I have no connections to this little girl. And I have no connection to now Thor and this little girl being partners and teamed up. And then Love and Thunder is like, she's Love and he's Thunder.
Yeah.
Like, this girl's been in a movie for 30 seconds and you named the movie after her?
Yeah. And Thor has a kid. I don't know if it's a daughter or not. He does have a kid, I believe, in the comics. I could be wrong.
I don't.
They're definitely trying to do some kind of Young Avengers thing, which I don't think is going to work with how they're doing things because of how bad these characters are, and we barely get time with them. Like, don't do it at Justice League on me.
I also feel like part of the problem, I understand we have different directors and different writers. It's too many cooks.
No,
because they're all doing their own movies.
I actually would appreciate that. That's how we got Winter Soldier, because you allow those directors to do their thing. That's how we get Ant-Man. That's how we get No Way Home. I like the part.
It's just poorly executed then?
Yeah.
Well, like, I blame this on the director. This movie, I blame on the director.
Yeah. I don't see how in the beginning, especially in phase 2, where you could tell Marvel had their hands too much into it.
Yeah.
This is not this case.
Yeah,
this is just people taking these movies in bad directions.
I think you need to give directors free reign. But, maybe...
Yeah, well, no, I'm fine with the free reign.
Maybe make sure they make a good movie.
Well, know what you got. Okay? Like, don't give Taika Waititi this story.
Okay, and my thing is this. He didn't do the first 2 Thor movies, right?
No. Those were 2 different directors.
Right. So I'm just like, I feel like directors should stay with the character. Maybe that's what I'm getting at.
No, because then I think Thor needed the change.
Thor needed a change. I mean, I'm going to say no because a lot of movies switched directors in between time and it was okay.
Yeah, Russo brothers didn't direct everybody at first.
I'm just trying to figure out like how it could be made better. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there.
I think you look at the movie that you have and you say, oh, this isn't for our comedy director. Mm-hmm. If we're gonna have a silly movie like this, that we don't do Thor and Gore the God Butcher, and Mighty Thor. We don't do that. I'm sorry, cancer is a serious subject matter, and maybe we should take it seriously. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah.
And then I know we didn't already rated it and everything, but I felt like that scene with her assistant was awkward.
Someone pointed out that Kat Dennings' character was the only serious character in the entire movie.
Right.
When she was the comic relief.
Yeah.
Which she was only in.
Then I was just like, so now she's in there and like, no, like, what happened?
Well, it was kind of just like, oh, it's a Thor movie, so we got to have her.
Right.
And then you just had her for 30 seconds and then that was it.
Yeah.
No, she's a physicist now. Put her somewhere else. That's fine.
Yeah.
She doesn't need.
Yeah, I felt like her character wasn't needed in the movie.
Yeah.
No, but okay. Well, I was gonna comment on the shows, but we kind of went off the rails. But I think Marvel taking some missteps with the TV shows too.
They've been hit and miss. I think the problem with the shows is, honestly, the shows do not need to connect to the larger universe. You can simply tell this story and this story only. And, I think, like, the shows are like, I know WandaVision ended up connecting to Doctor Strange, but if it didn't, it was completely fine. Mm-hmm. It didn't have to.
WandaVision was fine. Captain America Winter Soldier was fine. Actually, all the shows to
Hawkeye was fine.
I think all the shows were fine. My problem with current Marvel TV is you have a story that is interesting, but they have a way of telling them. Like, all the shows are kind of samey, if you notice. First episode, really interesting on everyone.
Yep.
But you have it where you barely get the hero throughout the shows. Moon Knight, barely in it. I mean, like, he's not Moon Knight for most of it. Same thing here with Miss Marvel. She has barely been Miss Marvel. Barely used her powers. Now there's more interesting things as we learn about different cultures and what happened in India and Pakistan. Sure. But I find myself thinking, like, I watch an episode and I'm like, man, nothing barely happened in the episode.
A lot of their shows has that problem.
Yeah, it's like the story inches forward. And it's weird that it's like that because there are only 6 episodes.
Which says to me that either...
Because then the last 2 episodes, then it's just them using their powers and it's just like all of a sudden it clicks. They know what they're doing and they can overpower the villain.
Well, I think one of the is probably a budget issue, right? If people using their powers, that's CGI. CGI costs money, and we're not gonna spend this kind of money on a TV show. But my thing is if you only have a 4-story episode, then you just give us 4 stories, right? Yeah. If you want a movie like TV show, but you can't make a Miss Marvel movie, then like it doesn't have to be 6 episodes. Simply, it's only 6 episodes, so Disney can ride into the next show.
Yeah.
But if you don't have 6 episodes worth of content, don't give it to me.
I honestly feel like it would be okay if it was 10 to 12. Because you think about like a lot of like mini-series of shows that we see that me and Danielle may watch, like based on true stories or stuff like that. They be only like 10 or 12 episodes, but it's like, it's fine because it's like, it's a consistent thing.
But they don't have the content.
They don't have the content.
They don't have the content. So that's why I'm saying make it shorter because they don't have the content for a full season.
Here's the issue. They have enough content for a movie and they're trying to make it into a TV show. But you're trying to split a 2-hour movie into a 6-episode series. So you're trying to make it 6 hours when it's only 2.
Give me a 4 or 3 episode TV show. I'm fine with that. If you came out with miniseries, like
I'm fine with 4 episodes in their an hour and 20 minutes.
I'm fine with a Ms. Marvel made for TV movie. Yeah. That is completely okay.
Honestly, it would probably be better because then we can cut scenes like she went out to eat with some people from the Red Dagger clan or whatever. The scene was completely pointless, didn't need to be in it, and it served no purpose, plus some other scenes, of course. And it's like, you don't need it. You can keep moving in the story rather than me feeling like we got 10 minutes of story in an hour-long episode.
Yeah, so I mean, like, if you only have a 2-hour movie or something slightly more than that, then just give me that. Yeah. It's fine. There's nothing else on Disney Plus anyway, so if it's only 3 episodes, what do I care? I'm watching The Simpsons 99% of the time anyways. Yeah,
and actually, I think that's a problem with not just Marvel, Disney Plus as a whole. I'm finding with a lot of their stuff from Mandalorian, a lot of the series that come out, Boba Fett was horrible, and with Obi-Wan Kenobi, while I was interested in the story, I haven't finished it yet. I was interested in the story, but like I have no interest in going back. Like, you know, I think like, oh yeah, I gotta watch this episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I have something else I can do, and I don't do it.
I think outside of the first few shows, like WandaVision and Loki, I wanted to watch the next episode.
Yeah, Loki's an outlier there.
Yeah.
Because each episode had some really interesting things as it went on. It was interesting throughout the entire episode.
Yeah, like
I felt like WandaVision was too.
Yeah. And I know we talk about different writers and different directors, but the problem with like most of these recent shows is nothing makes me want to go back. Like I think Ms. Marvel is fine as a TV show. And when I do watch it, I'm like, okay, that was fine. Yeah. I'm not mad that I watched it, but I don't want to watch it. Yeah. And the same thing, well, you know, I hate Star Wars, and I watched some episodes because I thought we were going to talk about it, but we didn't. And it was fine, but nothing made me want to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it could have been shorter. You should have made an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
Or do something like, you know,
better
like...
than Solo.
Like Daredevil or like the first episode of Jessica Jones. Like the first season of Jessica Jones.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I couldn't wait until they showed that next episode.
Yeah.
That's one thing Netflix did, past tense, well.
Yeah. And these recent shows outside of the 3 we named is failing at that.
Yeah, it is.
And if you're going to give me 6 episodes of a season, then you got to make me want to watch those 6 episodes.
And you're using characters that people are interested in because they're not like part of like the well-known characters. And I feel like it's getting lackluster because of how it's being presented.
Well, I think
because I have a feeling like I really want to watch She-Hulk, but I feel like at the rate that they're going, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Man, we're going to get 5 minutes of She-Hulk in that entire
Oh, definitely.
thing. When She-Hulk's a character that's always She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to be She-Hulk on episode 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what we were talking about, what's happening here is with WandaVision and Loki, you know, you had this talk about what's going to happen next. Like you mentioned, like every episode you wanted to know what's happening next. You know, like they have to notice that there is a slide because that's not happening now. With Moon Knight, there was no buzz about like, oh man, what's going to happen? You know, with Ms. Marvel, there's no buzz. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, what's going to happen? But like, I'm not waiting until Wednesday, like, man, I gotta wait a week to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that I can do.
It's just a thing that you can do. Like when WandaVision was out, like when I got in the morning, I checked to see that the episode was there and how long it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I did on Friday morning. And then as soon as I got off work, I watched WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that's how much I wanted to see that show.
Yep. Same with Loki.
And the thing is, if I don't finish Miss Marvel, I don't finish Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't care. I'm probably gonna finish it, but I wouldn't care if I didn't finish Miss Marvel. They already did away with the villain anyway, so I guess the Damage Control is the villain now.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
because they're a threat.
So, we will get, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. All right, that was our tangent that went on forever. But with that being said, if you watch Thor: Love and Thunder and you want to tell us about it, make sure you comment about Thor: Love and Thunder. Of course, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to the podcast. And as always, thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next time.